My Indian colleague you're referring to is Mr. Amitabh Kant, who is the CEO of the main planning body in the country, which is advising the Prime Minister. And with due respect to him, I would only say that I think that is not a very popular thread of discussion in India. I think it's just the way of the main discussion that is happening. I think the big paradox for people from the civil society, from the networks like us, who are supporting basic income, is that when you make it universal, and when you give even 8% of GDP or 7% of GDP, as a principle, universal is very good. It has many effects, very positive effects, political effects. But the question is that you will reduce the amount of money, which is not a very good idea to start getting positive results of a policy like universal basic income. I would say that we should go incrementally, even from the fiscal point of view also. I don't think one should give an impression that one is robbing from the rich and paying the poor. I don't think that is the kind of an entry universal basic income policy should make.
So the next question here is, do you think that government is essential for UBI, or do you think that we can have outside movements?
Well, I think we should have both. The reason I say this is that by the time government actually takes it up and then implements it, it may take a long time, but I feel that a lot of civil society ground level initiatives are very important to build up the momentum and the support for basic income. Particularly, I think examples like in Brazil, what they are doing in Montenegro, example, a small village they have taken, or my basic income in Germany. These are extraordinarily important examples in order to raise the public awareness about basic income, to raise the positive effects of basic income, and also to dream about a society where it is not abnormal to give somebody unconditional basic income. In fact, as Philip Arias always says, that the biggest objection to universal basic income in the last 30 years has been a moral objection, that why should you pay somebody free? So I think we should dispel that myth that nothing is coming free. As a citizen, you are entitled. For that, I think a lot of smaller initiatives are extremely important in a symbolic way. We don't know when the government will come and do what it will do at the end of the day, but I think this momentum at the ground level is extremely important in my view.
So I think you answered the question about Asian context. I don't know if you want to add something to that, but also are there additional challenges for a large population like India implementing UBI?
Well, I think even though I think we have so many countries in Asia, I think the idea has not traveled much. I think your effort in bringing this Asia Pacific conference is an extraordinary effort. I think more smaller groups need to sit and start working. I can't think of a single country in Asia and Pacific where this question is not relevant. It's absolutely relevant. I think the more we look into the future, like next 10 years and 20 years, the whole question of employment looks like very bleak. And I think in a situation like that, I think nobody should start from zero. And nobody is going to survive in future from the point from zero that we are living in today. I think increasingly basic income is becoming a necessity for every country in the world, particularly in Asian countries and African countries where there's so much more of poverty. Though I would not reduce the universal basic income concept only to addressing poverty.
So I think we have time for one more question, and then you can give your final thoughts. So how did social welfare programs interact with the UBI trial in India? And I guess perhaps what they're trying to say is, did they forfeit their other welfare in those areas, or did they continue to receive both? And how do you see that developing in the future?
Well, I think that is the biggest question that we are all grappling with, including the government. The government came out with this huge chapter, 40-page chapter on universal basic income and its relevance to India. Now, in that, I think the chunk of the argument, the basic argument was that you're spending X amount of money on welfare today. Now, should we go and look for money elsewhere for UBI, or should we try and see where the efficiencies and inefficiencies are? Are we spending the existing available money in an efficient way? I would say, I think the government itself says, and we are all saying that no, today we are not spending the existing available money in an efficient way. So I think government is coming out saying that unless we try and replace some of the existing ones, we don't have the money for the entire country. But I think there are very strong groups. For example, the food program is the largest program, which spends about $30 billion every year. Now, similarly, we have another program which spends another $10 billion every year. Now, these are the kind of money. So, unless we make that efficient, unless we dabble with that, I think that is the point of view of the government. But I think outside this, if we start pushing for a UBI, I think it's going to be very unrealistic. So, we need to review our welfare basket, also our fiscal situation, and try to reinvent our own welfare basket. How do we do that is the biggest challenge, both for our government and also for us. So I would say that every country, for example, if you take the Finland pilot, it's actually trying to see, the whole of Europe is trying to see our welfare system is not working well. So how do we review this? Similarly, I think the Ontario's report submitted by Hugh Segal is also commenting on the existing scheme. So I think even Taiwan, you would ask those questions that is the existing system doing what it is supposed to do? If it's not doing, then how do we bring in universal basic income and unconditional basic income into the basket of welfare, where it reaches out to many more people in the context than the earlier welfare schemes have been doing. So I think these are all the challenges all of us have to really bring in the unconditionality and universality into the situation, into the picture. So I think it's definitely a very progressive thought for today, and I think it's a necessary thought and necessary praxis for today, how each country, the civil society and the governments are going to grapple with these questions. I think scholars have to get in, activists have to get in, politicians have to get in, and of course corporates also have to get in. I think this is a moment for a wide variety of forces in the society to come together to reinvent their own society. That would be my thing for the last words.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarath Davala.
Thank you. I hope something very positive will come out of all this. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you again. So now we'll have some time. I think the other presentation's about ending now. So if you'd like to get some coffee or refreshments, you can go to room 270-101.